All right, let's get started. It is 7:01. I'm late today, but that's okay. Been one of those days. I hope everybody is doing well. If you have questions, you can always ask. I mean, y'all know the deal. We come, we do this. Hello, Miss Stacy. How are you? I okay. So, we are going to do a couple of things today. We're going to finish the questions that I we started last week. And then, maybe we want to do it the opposite way. Stacy, you're the first one here, so I'll ask you. I want to finish the questions we started last week, but I also want to show you all how I create these questions on AI so that you all can create them way as well. Hey, Crystal, you're live too, or you're on the YouTube as well. I've got some people on YouTube. So I'll give everybody a couple minutes to tell me what you want to do first. We can finish the questions that we started last on Sunday, but I also wanted to take the time to show you all literally exactly how I create practice questions and how you can create practice questions for the topics you need. So let me know what you think. What do we want to start with? Questions or how to make the questions? There's no wrong answer. I'm prepared to do either one.
I say how to make the question.
All right, Miss Stacy, you say how to make the questions. Let's give everybody, there's a little bit of a delay on the YouTube. Let's see if anybody has anything else to say, but I'm I'm thinking that's probably the best place to start, which, would work for me. But to do, I know there's a little bit of a, you know what? We'll just go with it. We'll just go with it. So that means I'm going to change our view here. You all are going to see my screen in a moment. Let's share that. Screens. This screen. Okay. So you all have seen me use these questions, and I don't write them myself. I can, but I find it to be boring. A, it's not my favorite thing. And B, it's just, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just not my favoriteest thing. I don't like doing it. But I can't for classes or if I'm selling something, I can't just, not review them. Having said that, I want to show you all how you can do it. I don't want to gatekeep. Now, I'm going to use Claude. If you're not familiar with Claude, then it's just an AI. You can use it for free. Your free versions will work just as well as mine will. And I have a prompt that I use when I'm writing questions that I'm just going to stick in here for you. And literally, it was the last prompt I used for the 30 questions we started before. So here you go. It reads, I need 30 real estate exam practice questions. The majority should be based on debits and credits, what a line item on the closing disclosure should be, and some math calculations. Valuation, mostly vocab and concepts, and finance, more detailed questions that will require students to truly understand the materials to answer. The overall difficulty should be on the level of harder questions that a student might see on a PSI or Pearson VUE exam. Now, just with that first paragraph, you can change what you put in there. If you want questions that are just finance, if you want questions on all the topics, if you want to do it as a state review of the state laws for your state, you can change the topics however you want. And you can change the difficulty. You could say, hey, I want to make it more vocab based. Or you could say, hey, I want to make this more math based. Do what you need. I just happened that was what you all requested, so that's what I put in. The most important part, though, to get something you can use, I would say, is the second half of this. The question should come first with an answer key following. So if you don't want it to go ahead and give you the answer right away, you want to tell it, make the answer key follow the actual questions. The answer key should also give the reasons why each wrong answer is incorrect. So when you're doing this with me, we talk often about, well, why isn't this answer right? Or why isn't that answer right? If you use a prompt like this, when AI writes it, it will tell you this is why B isn't the right answer. Please make sure the answers are randomized A, B, C, D almost equally in a random order. So I probably want to go in here because this is what I said before, and it said A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. So I'm going to say not just A, then B, then C, etc. I'm going to say truly randomized. For math calculations, please make sure the final correct answer is within reasonable rounding to an exact answer. The one thing, if I could say, of all my experience using AI to do lots of different things, and not just this, is the more specific you are with what you want, the better your prompt is going to be. It seems like overkill, but it's not. I mean, there are times that I do something a little bit more difficult, but you all can see what happens here. Boom, we're going to let Claude go. Now, if you have a paid Claude account, it will ask you, hey, I want to know this before I create it. If you don't have a paid account, I don't know what it will do, but I always encourage you anytime you're using AI, even once you get out in the real world and you all are helping clients. Let's say there's an inspection report and you're like, I don't know what this is. Ask AI. I mean, ask a person, but you should ask AI as well. So while that is thinking about what it's doing, I'm going to move on. But I also want to show you that you can do things like, where did it go? Boop, here. And I just want to make sure it's thinking about its life. Making sure everybody online can see. This is an example of what I had AI do. Now, this is a different type of AI, but like we were talking about debits and credits. Y'all, the only thing I asked AI to do is I said, create a settlement chart for debits and credits. This is literally what it gave me. So AI is, okay, stop that. It's great. We love it. All right, okay, you're gonna let me scroll. It's not gonna let me scroll, but you can see here, debit is money owed, and then you got a credit, money received, and it told me, it gave me a quick reference cheat sheet. All of this was from one prompt, one prompt. So again, if you want this that I just created, you're more than welcome. You know what? I'll download it before we finish and I'll send it to you all. But using AI to study is only the first step to what you're going to need to do once you get out in the real world, because AI is everywhere, even in real estate. So, you know what I'm going to do is put in the chat for you all my exact prompt so you all have it. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, you can email me and you can just ask for it. So in the chat, y'all, you now have that. Or if you're watching, you can just read it out loud, pause the video, whatever you need. And then I will, you know what? If I don't do it now, it'll never happen. So I'm going to download this. That's share. I want to download. Download. And I will put this in the chat as well. This is going to be called debits versus credits. And I'm going to save this. Now, I have a whole AI section, things that I create. We'll call this AI infographics. And boop, I'm going to put this in the chat for you all as well. So does that help? I'm hoping so. All right. Okay, you said there was something, the password was live, YouTube. Where are those questions? You know what, Crystal, when we finish stay on, and I know I added it, they should have been It should have worked. I wonder why it didn't work. Stay on, but I do have those questions. Now let me put this in the chat for you all. Boom, doo, boo, boo. Bam. You have it. Yay. So, I mean, I love, hello, Antonio. Yay, I'm glad that made sense. So, Antonio, if you're watching, you're obviously watching via YouTube. Email me. I can send you all this stuff because I don't have a way to send it over via YouTube. All right. Now let's see what Claude came up with. Oh, Claude, you're still thinking? Fine. Claude is still thinking. So what we're going to do is we'll finish those questions, but I promise you by the end of our session, Claude will have given us those 30 questions and doing everything else that we need. Again, you can do this on a free version. I don't know if the questions will come out quite as well, but they're still questions and they are free. Free is the key here. We like free. So let me switch over to our finished questions to finish what we started last week. And there we go. All right. Let's start with question 11. A buyer's $5,000 earnest money deposit was paid at offer and held by the listing brokerage. At the closing table, this deposit appears in the buyer's column of the closing disclosure as a buyer's $5,000 earnest money deposit was paid at offer and held by the listing brokerage. At the closing table, this deposit appears in the buyer's column of the closing disclosure as a debit, B, both a debit and a credit, C, credit, or it does not appear on the closing disclosure because it was paid before closing. Anybody got a thought to what this answer could be? What are we thinking? Is it a credit? Okay, Crystal asks, it's a credit. And all right, Caroline, you said A, it's a debit. So we like to ask the question, where is, on the day of closing, where is the money coming from and who does the money need to go to? So really what this test question is asking us is, what happens? What's the process of earnest money? And remember, the buyer pays earnest money at the time of getting under contract. The buyer pays earnest money at the time of getting under contract. And this question is asking us about the closing disclosure or the settlement statement. So would the buyer be paying the earnest money contract on the closing statement? Is that what it's showing? And the answer is no, it would not be a debit. The buyer already paid. They paid it when they got under contract. But we know earnest money is basically serving as liquidated damages. We're saying, buyer, since you're buying the house, you get your earnest money back. Because back in the day, it doesn't happen too much now, but there is a chance a buyer could get 100% loan. So if the sales price was 200,000 and the loan is 200,000 and the earnest money was, let's say, 5,000, that buyer literally gets that $5,000 back. So at closing, the buyer receives the earnest money back. So our answer is not A, debit. It would show up as C, a credit on the buyer's column. It shows up as a credit on the buyer's column. So does that kind of make sense to everybody why it is the way it is? It's not a debit because there you go. Great. Awesome. Glad that's making sense, Miss Caroline. Yay. It's credit. And that is definitely now one that you need to know for the test. You need to know it in real life, but you also most definitely need to know this for the test. You need to know about the sales price, you need to know about the loan, and you need to know about earnest money deposits. Like those are definitely three things you have to understand for this test. Hey, what is it? So you know what? Let's go over it really quickly. Now that I've said that out loud, let's talk about it. So on the test, let's change colors. On the CD, I don't care what state you're in, you're always going to have a sales price, which is going to be a buyer debit and a seller credit for the same amount. There's usually going to be a loan, and that is a buyer credit only. If it's a regular loan from a bank, it's going to be a buyer credit only. But if it's a loan that's being assumed, it would be a buyer credit and a seller debit for the same amount. And if there is earnest money deposit, it would be a buyer credit only because the seller doesn't have the earnest money. It's in a trust account. The seller doesn't owe what they don't have. So hopefully this makes sense. I know you're going to be tested on that concept. So take a screenshot. It could be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on that infographic I just made. I would be shocked and surprised. I mean, literally, I just made it. So there you go. Okay, next question. Let's see. A negotiated seller concession of $3,500 towards the buyer's closing costs appears on the closing disclosure as. So this is really testing our knowledge of these words. What is a seller concession? And it's going toward the buyer's closing cost. Always ask yourself, okay, who is the money coming from? Because that's the debit. And where is the money going to? Because that's the credit. Where is the money coming from? The debit. Who is the money going to? The credit. So if it's a seller concession, that means the seller is giving that money to the buyer to help the buyer pay closing cost. So if it's a seller giving, that's a seller debit. If it's a buyer's receiving, that's a buyer credit. So we know it's a seller debit, buyer credit. Now we just find the answer that matches. And I see your question, Antonio. I'll answer that in a moment. It's going to be, is it a credit to the seller and a debit to the buyer? No, because the buyer doesn't need to pay and the seller doesn't receive it. A debit to both parties? No, because only the seller has to pay. A credit to both parties? No, because only the buyer's going to receive it, which means our answer has to be D, debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. Very good, y'all. I see you got the right answer. Hello, Rosalinda. And the right answer in there. And Antonio, you asked on YouTube, quick question, why wouldn't it be considered a buyer debit even though they're paying money? And I think you're talking about 11 there, Antonio. On your question, you said a quick question, why wouldn't it be considered a buyer debit even though they're paying money? It's because when you do the closing statement, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. So many things open. The CD is talking about money flow the day of. the money flow that particular day. So even if you're in a state where you've got a what's the word I'm thinking of? It's not an escrow agent. That's what I'm thinking of. Some states you have settlement meeting closings. Some states you all have escrow agents. Imagine if the escrow agent is like, okay, everybody's done what they're supposed to do. Now I need to hand out deeds and keys and monies. That particular day, what is the flow of the money that day? And that day, the escrow agent's going to say, I already received money from this buyer. And since they didn't back out on the day of settlement, the buyer needs to get that money back. It's all about looking at this from the day of settlement. On another day, before closing, yes, the buyer paid, but this is about the day of closing. How does the money flow? So, Antonio, let me know online. Just want to make sure that makes sense to you because we all, I don't care what state you're in, all of us are going to have to understand this. So, it's really, really important. And of course, my ladies in my Zoom, I'm hoping that makes sense and I'm hoping that was a good review, but all of us need to know that. All right, let's move on. Oh, good. Yay. Yes, Antonio, because the earnest money was done beforehand. Yes, we want the settlement statement to be what is that escrow agent doing with monies today? Today, the buyer needs a loan because they got to pay the seller. Today, the seller's getting the sales price because the buyer wants their deed. It's about what's happening the day of. That's what we're looking for. Hopefully that is clear now. But look, if it's not, we can, that's why somebody, I forgot who it was, somebody asked, let's go over credits and debits. That's why we're doing this, because we have to understand credits and debits. Okay. Let's keep on rolling. Oh, and as we're doing that, I also wanted to say, I finally started putting stuff on TikTok. So if you are following questions, and they're going to be questions I'm not doing here. These are new questions y'all have never seen before on my TikTok. And you see, when you'll follow me, it's my personal TikTok. You'll be like, Candace, you have two now. Besides these one question I put up the other day, I officially now have three TikToks. I'm putting more up, but it's Canned Ellis. So Candace Ellis, Candelis. You can follow me, and there'll be new TikToks probably starting tomorrow. I've got like 6 or 7 in the bank. I didn't want to upload them all at the same time. So I'm listening to you all on what you needed because the goal is I'll be able to do this live. And then you all can watch live from TikTok and it doesn't have to be, whichever. All right, back to our questions. 13. Property taxes for the year total $4,800 and are paid in arrears. We know paid in arrears means you pay after the time. So if it helps you to think arrears starts with an A and you pay after you use it, right? The property closes on April 30th with the seller responsible for the day of closing. Okay, we needed to know that. Using a 360-day year, what is the tax proration? Okay, so I'm going to use a little of this space up here for this question. We know that taxes are annual. That's a wavy line. You got 1/1, you got 12/30 because it's a 360-day year. Every month has 30 days, the year has 360. And we know after, in the new year, $4,800 is going to be owed. And we know taxes are what kind of lien? Specific lien. That means the new buyer is responsible for that entire $4,800 tax bill. The closing was on April 30th. which means the seller only owned the house here and the buyer owns the house for the majority of the time. Yet the buyer's going to owe all $4,800. That doesn't seem fair to me. So what are we going to do? We're going to figure out how many days that seller is going to pay to the buyer to make this even Stevens. So we know, since it's a 360-day year, that's 4 months of taxes: January, February, March, April. And if we're assuming 4 months at 30 days a month, that's going to be basically multiplying. That's 120 days. This seller owes for 120 days. Now, I will also tell you, because it's happening on a end of the month, I could divide this by 12, but just always find a daily amount. All right, just find a daily amount. It's usually easier. And we need to find that daily amount by taking 4,800 and dividing it by 360. Where's my handy dandy calculator? And that gives me $13.33 a day. So I'm going to do that 120 times 13.33. What does that give me? I got $15.99 repeating. So let's just call that $1,600. So we know $1,600 is our amount. But we got to think about this. Remember what I said. Where is the money coming from the day of closing, and who does the money need to go to the day of closing? Where does the escrow agent need to get the money from, or who does the money come from? And who does the escrow agent need to make sure receives those monies? Well, the buyer is the one who's going to have to pay this entire bill. So it sounds to me like the seller needs to pay and the buyer needs to receive. That means it is give a little more space there, a seller debit. The seller needs to pay the $1,600 and the buyer needs to receive $1,600. So let's see what answer matches. A $1,600 credit to the buyer and a $1,600 debit to the seller. Yeah, I like that one, but let's eliminate our other choices. $1,600 credit to the seller? No, the seller should be debited. And a $1,600 debit to the buyer? No. And then we know these amounts are not correct. Right? Those aren't the right amounts. Now, I will say this 3,200, let me see. 3,200 plus 16. That is the other amount. And you might be asking. So let me kind of say here. Go to a different. You had a year here, and it was $4,800 for the year. It was a 4/30 closing. So the seller owes the $1,600 the day of closing. But what about this $3,200 between here and here? Why are we not collecting that $3,200? Because it's not being paid the day of closing. The day of closing, that buyer is not paying that $3,200. That $3,200 is paid after 12/30. They're going to pay it in the future one day. And we're not worried about the future. We're worried about today. What does the escrow agent have to make happen so everybody is good? If I were to say that's one of the major things that students don't understand or get wrong with these questions, or I guess I could say that's it. People are like, oh yeah, the seller owes $1,600 and the buyer owes $3,200, but not today. Don't fall for that mistake. All right. Hopefully that makes sense, but let me know if it doesn't, because that was kind of a lot of math and, you know, hopefully we're good. Yay, no questions? Cool. All right, number 14. A home sells for $400,000. The seller's existing mortgage payoff is $215,000. The commission is 6%, and the other selling closer costs total $4,200. Ignoring proration adjustments, approximately how much will the seller net at closing? Wow. Now this is a good one. We want to know about how much is this seller going to receive at closing. This is the math you will do in real life. A seller is going to say, "Hey, I want to list my house for 400, but I'm going to have to pay off my loan at 215. I got to pay you a commission and I got to pay some other stuff for $4,200. If I do that, knowing those numbers, how much money will I walk away with?" Okay, well, let's see. That seller is going to start with $400,000 coming to them. That's the sales price. But they need to pay out some things. They need to pay the $215,000 mortgage. They need to pay out the 6% commission. And they need to pay out the $4,200 and miscellaneous costs. And whatever that answer, whatever we're left with, that's going to be what the seller is going to net, what they're going to walk away with. Okay, well, we could do this subtraction, except we've got a dollar sign, a dollar sign, a dollar sign, and then we got the stupid percentage sign. So we got to change that percentage sign into dollars. We need to find 6% of the $400,000, which we know was just going to be a simple $400,000 times 6%, which would give us $24,000. So I could really say, $24,000, and I'll just note that was a 6% commission. Now I can do the math. 400,000 minus 215 minus 24 minus 4,200. So let's see. 400,000 minus 215, 115. Oh, that's okay. That was a million, Candace. Pull yourself together. 400,000. Subtract 215,000. Subtract 24,000. Subtract 4,200. Now, if I mathed correctly, I got 156,800. I will tell you, when I'm taking these tests or doing things, I generally will do the math twice. But if you all got 156,800 too, which it looks like you all did, B, that is our final answer. Hey, we're doing it right. We're doing it right. Good. Okay. Now, before we move on, remember, these are the questions I did before. We finished our questions on valuation before, and now we got some finance questions. Before we do that, I want to show you what came up with AI. Because real time, and y'all know I make mistakes real time, and by real time, I mean every day of my life. I'm pretty sure I'm a mistake factory. So let me show you what we got from our AI Ask. So if you remember, just for some people that weren't here before, here was our prompt, and it said, look, I'll build this out as a steady, ready markdown file I can save or print. They weighted the 30 questions as 10 credit and debits, 8 valuation, 12 finance. Um, right, that's fine. And it came up here. It gave me the randomization. And then I said, oh yeah, it downloaded. I could have downloaded it, but I wanted it as a PDF. So you can ask Claude to say, give me a PDF, which is what it did. It gave me a title page. And then here are my questions. Part one questions, the credits, debits, and closing calculations. Boom. There's my page, valuation questions here. And there are my finance questions. I asked for 30, so that's what it did. And then it gave me the answer key with rationales. Right? So it's telling you why the wrong answers are wrong. Claude, you said you like Claude over Chat GPT. I'll be honest, I pay for Claude, Chat, Gemini. I don't use Copilot, although I get it with what I pay for. And I'm just trying to pull myself together to pay for Grok, but I just can't. And I think each AI has a different use depending on what I'm trying to do. I definitely think if I was going to go into sales, I would use AI for some things. But anything you're using AI for as a real estate agent means somebody who's not a real estate agent could probably do it. So I would definitely make sure, once you all get out there into the real estate world, you figure out how you can prompt or what you can use your knowledge to help AI with to do stuff. But anyway, that's a lecture for a different lecture. So that's how I did it. We're not gonna, maybe we'll start these questions tonight, but these will be the next questions that we do. We'll see how good of a job it did. All right, it's so much easier, and I would much rather you all do this. I mean, again, the world is changing. Go ahead and use AI. It may not be perfect, but if it means you're gonna pass this test, I'll take it. If I asked you to run a marathon, you wouldn't just go out and start running 26 point whatever miles it is, 26.1, 26.3, whatever it is. So when people say, what's the best way to study for the test? One of the ways to study is, well, if I'm asking you to take a bunch of questions I've never seen before, I guess I need to practice by taking questions I've never seen before. Again, don't just take the question and find the answer, but do the questions and figure out why. Figure out why. Oh, good, Crystal. You said it was very helpful. Yay. And again, since you all are using AI to figure out these questions or to create these questions, if you get one and you don't like how AI answered it or asked it, bring it to one of our free sessions. We'll break it down. Y'all know that I'm like, it may be perfect, it may not be. All right. So, I think that's good. Let's go back and finish our other finance questions. So, and then, like I said, Crystal, if you want me to make sure for everybody that that code is working or the other 200 questions, I can give that to you. And then once we finish doing these 30 questions, I can make those available to you. I'm not going to charge you for questions that I made on YouTube. Like, that's just silly. Okay. Yeah, I was like, what am I doing? I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Here we go. We only got to question 25 in the finance. Let's go. Which of the following best describes a wrap? How do you get the code? Wait, the code for which one? Caroline asked in the Zoom for those who are on YouTube, how do we get the code? The code for which questions or the code for the prompt? Which code you asking me about? Not quite sure. Just put it in the chat and then,
I was going to say the prompt questions.
Oh, so that you can get the 200?
Yes.
So I'm changing websites. So right now, the only thing I have up is Etsy, and it won't let me give anything free. That code I told you about should have worked. But email me and just ask if anybody's listening now or anything, if you all want, just or stay behind tonight and I'll drop them in the chat or email me and say, can I get the 200 questions? Because I don't know why the code didn't work. I can't do it free, but I can give you a 100% coupon. I don't know why it's not letting
Okay,
me
thank
hack
you.
it.
I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Okay. 25, we were talking about the wraparound mortgage. Now, I'm going to explain the wraparound mortgage the way I would if we were in class because it's weird. It's just a weird mortgage. So, scenario time. Let's say I don't want to draw with this color. That's what we're going to start with. Let's say I don't like this color. Let's say I want to draw with, and you do black. Let's say this is Bill. And Bill has a big old house because he and his wife were going to have all of the kids in the world. And that was terrible, whatever. But unfortunately, Bill's wife died. The house was, his payments on the house, let's say, are $1,000 a month. And he's almost done. He's got this big old house. It's got 5 bedrooms and it's got 4.5 baths. He doesn't need this. He's old. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Bill's like, okay, well, I guess I'll keep paying my mortgage. But Bill also has a nephew, and we'll call him Kevin. Now, Kevin has a wife. And what do you know? They got 3 little ones. And they could use the space, but Kevin's credit ain't great because he got laid off. He's working better. Now he's got a job now, but okay, fine. But he can't get a loan right now for what he needs. So there's a great idea here. What if Kevin moved into the house and paid out $3,000 a month to Bill? Kevin's going to buy this house, move in, and pay to Bill $3,000 a month. And then Bill's going to go to, I don't know, an active adult community. Right? So that's cool. Bill goes to a new place. Kevin and his family moves in. And remember, he's paying $1,000 a month to the bank, but he's receiving $3,000 from Kevin. So what's going to happen with that $3,000? He's going to continue. Bill continues to pay this to the bank. And Bill then pockets $2,000 in profit. That is a wraparound mortgage. They are not common. Why? Because of that little due on sale clause. If Bill's mortgage had a due on sale clause, this would not work. The reason we call it a wraparound mortgage is stupid, but it's because this payment ends up wrapping around this $1,000 payment. I don't know who came up with this name, is stupid, but whichever. And it doesn't even happen all that often, but they do like to test it. That is the idea of a wraparound mortgage. Bill sells his house to Kevin. Kevin pays $3,000 a month, and stop that. That $3,000 a month wraps around or encompasses the $1,000 that Bill would have to pay every month, and then Bill gets to pocket $2,000 a month. So now that we know what a wraparound mortgage is, let's see what our right answers. A new senior loan that fully refinances and replaces the existing mortgage. Well, that's not right. It's not a new senior loan. It is a new loan, but senior means it came first. It's not one. And nobody refinanced and it didn't replace the existing mortgage. The existing mortgage is still there and Bill's paying into it. B, a junior loan that wraps around an existing mortgage. The new lender collects payments from the buyer, that would be Bill, and continues paying the underlying loan. I like that answer. C, a federally insured loan that allows down payments and flexible credit. No, that's not it. D, a short-term loan secured only by personal property rather than real estate. Also not correct. Our answer is B. Wraparound loan. Cool. All right, 26. A commercial property has a net operating income of $48,000. If the appropriate market capitalization rate is 8%, what is the indicated value using the income approach? Great. We know how to do this. This is a simple math problem. We know that if we take NOI and we divide it by a cap rate, we're going to get value. And remember, NOI is always going to be annual. NOI is net operating income. So if our NOI is 48,000, we divide it by our cap rate, 8%, that gives us $600,000. Boom, chakalaka boom. Let's see. Do we have that answer? Hey, the answer's A. The answer's A. Hey, the answer's A. Okay, we're good. Yay. Look, I want every single person that's ever listened to me, whether y'all are live with me in the Zoom room or you're in the YouTube, none of us are getting one of these simple NOI questions wrong. We are not going to be one of those groups because we know that is a point that is just easy for the taking. 27. Under the Federal Truth in Lending Act, the APR disclosed to a borrower is intended to reflect, let's read that again in a better voice. Under the Federal Truth in Lending Act, the APR, or annual percentage rate, disclosed to a borrower is intended to reflect what? So it's basically asking us, what is an APR? According to TILA, what is an APR? What is it supposed to be telling us? So is it A, only the contract interest rate stated on the promissory note? Is it B, the maximum interest rate the lender may charge over the life of the loan? C, the interest rate plus the lender's expected profit margin? Or D, the total cost of credit, including interest, points, and certain finance charges expressed as an annual rate? I mean, I'm hoping. Did I not do 600? Oh, you got it right there, Crystal. Cool, cool, cool. Sorry, just somebody had a question on that. So it's not A. It's not just the contract interest rate. And it's not the maximum interest rate a lender would charge over the life of a loan. That would happen if it was an ARM. Remember, ARM stands for adjustable rate mortgage. So that is going to be one where, you know, you get it in 2026, your interest rate is at 5.2%. And in 2 years, I'm just making up numbers here, it's going to go higher or lower just based on what the market is then doing. Usually, if you get an ARM within your paperwork, there'll be a number that says, look, you may start at 5.2%, but with no matter what the market does, it's never going to go below 3%, and it's never going to go higher than 12%. I mean, there's usually something that creates limitations in an ARM. So it is an answer, but not to this question. The interest rate plus the lender's expected profit margin, no. I mean, they do. That's how they come up with the new interest rate when they have an ARM, but that's not what they're asking. Or D, the total cost of credit, including interest, points, and certain finance charges expressed as an annual rate. Boom. There we go. didn't tell y'all that it was D. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, 28. A borrower chooses a 15-year fixed rate mortgage instead of a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for the same loan amount at the same interest rate. Compare the 30-year loan, the 15-year loan, compared to the 30-year loan, the 15-year loan will typically have. All right, let's wrap around what this just said. We're comparing a 15-year fixed to a 30-year fixed. And this question is asking us, how are they different? It's saying the 15-year will typically, how will the 15-year compare to the 30-year loan? Well, I mean, you got 15 years to pay off instead of 30, you're clearly going to have a higher payment. So you already know it's not going to be a lower payment. Boom, boom. Right? You're going to have a higher payment and you don't have 30 years of financing. So it'll be less interest. So that's going to be C, the higher monthly payments, but less interest paid over the life of the loan. I mean, literally, we could do the math to see the difference, but even just using, I hate to say common sense, but even just using some, okay, let me think about this. This is why some people choose, a lot of people choose to do like a 20-year mortgage or 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage. People who are really thinking about their, earlier homes as an investment will often do that so that they can put more money towards owning their home so they can, later on in life have more principal, right? You put more towards it. Okay. 29. An adjustable rate mortgage ARM is tied to an index currently at 3.5% and has a margin of 2.25%. Assuming no caps are triggered, what is the fully indexed rate the borrower would pay at adjustment? I will be honest, I have never seen this question or this type of question before, but I know what I know about ARMs. So we have to make sure we understand what a margin is. The margin is the extra. In fact, you saw it. Where was it? Here. This question right here, the interest rate plus the lender's expected profit margin. Right? So basically, this is the bank saying, look, right now loans are at 3.5%, but we want to charge you a little bit more. We want a margin of 2.25%. See, the question is it going to be 3.5% plus 2.25%? Which would give us, that'd be 0.75, 5.75%. I mean, that seems like it would be the right answer. It is an answer choice. Not unless we found 2.25%. Well, we know it's not 5.5%. That's no change. Yeah. I'm thinking that's the answer. Anybody else got an idea? 29, Stacy, you said D. How we come up with D? You would say, honestly, I got nothing. I'm going to say B because I've never seen this question before. But Antonio, you said D too, maybe for this one. Y'all know something I don't know? I mean, y'all could be very well right. I don't even know. I have no idea. But let's see what our answer chart says. This is number 29. Hey, our answer is B. What? Guessing right. We are guessing right. My guess is if we take 3.5 and subtract 2.25, that gives us the 1.25. That's why it's not A. And then for D, I don't have any idea why you would come up with 6%, but that one didn't seem right either since I couldn't figure it out. So a good guess. Good guess on all of our parts. All right. 30. And again, if you learn nothing from me, if you see questions that you have no idea how to answer, don't panic. Do not panic. A, this was an AI generated question. B, even if you see it on your exam, it could be one of those test questions, something they're trying to see. Hey, do enough people get this right or wrong? Don't let it shake your confidence. It's just one question. 30. A buyer obtains a conventional loan with a 10% down payment on a $350,000 home. The lender requires private mortgage insurance, PMI. PMI is generally required when? So we have a lot of fluff. All of this is fluff. And the real question was, PMI is generally required when? I have students that would have seen the 10% down payment and the $350,000. Oh, Lord, we got some numbers, and go off the handle. It's not even asking us about those numbers. That was fluff, extra. We didn't need it. It's like talking to a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old, especially a 5-year-old. They just be like, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's be honest. It's like talking to me. So, A, the loan to value ratio exceeds 80%. B, the borrower is a first-time home buyer. C, the loan is insured by the FHA. Or D, the borrower has a credit score below 620. There's a good chance if you have a credit score below 620, you're not getting a loan. If the loan was insured by FHA, you wouldn't be paying PMI, you'd be paying MIP, mortgage insurance premium. And the first-time home buyer has nothing to do with making our answer A, the loan-to-value ratio exceeds 80%. And that, boys and girls, is the end of these 30 questions. So I do have the blank version of this. If you want it, you can just email me and, hey, Candace, can I get the blank version? You know my email. It's CandaceEllis@gmail.com. Please make sure you follow me on TikTok so I can, not that I really care that you do it, but so I have to have a certain amount of followers and a certain amount of likes, I don't know what it is, in order to be able to go live. And I'll be able to live stream these via TikTok for you all. So that's the goal. Tell your friends, tell your family. So we can go live on TikTok, even if they don't care about real estate. We just want to be able to go live. And I think that's it. Again, if you want the questions, email me. For people in the Zoom room, just stay behind when I end the live stream, and I'll put it in the chat for you, and then I'll figure it out. Oh, what am I under in TikTok? Great question. It is Candelis. So like Candace Ellis, Candelis, and you'll see a big picture. Do I have an Instagram for real estate now, Antonio? You're just asking for too much, okay? We just started with the TikTok. I will get to the Insta too. I need to work on that. I promise I will work on that too, Antonio. Can I go live on Insta? I don't think you can. Let me see how easy it is to take my TikToks and put it on my Instas as well. And, all of those things. And then with shorts on YouTube, there's time requirements. It's all very confusing. But either way, not yet for Insta. Everybody, if you're via YouTube, I'll see you later. If you're in the Zoom room, just stay, and I'll see you all on, is Sunday a holiday? No, Memorial Day, huh? Do I want to do Memorial Day weekend? Even if I don't do Memorial Day live, I'll at least put up a new video for you. I don't know what my family wants to do, especially with my aunt, so I can't say I'll be available Sunday if they wanted to go somewhere, but you'll either have a live or a new video. Just because it's Memorial Day, there you go. So something will come and premiere new at 7, whether it's me live or a new video. It could be the Acts, Laws, and Statutes video, so we'll see. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.